Very often people use terms like AI, machine learning and deep learning interchangeably without understanding the difference between them. But if you want to really champion these concepts, you do need to understand the difference between these three terms, and they are distinct and unique terms. Let's try to understand the relations between them. At a top level, at a superset level, there is a branch of computer science called AI. It stands for artificial intelligence. So the term artificial indicates machine, and intelligence indicates machine acting like a human, right? So any task that a machine can do, a human-like task a machine can do, can classify into AI. For instance, let's say a vacuum cleaner robot, right? Um, it can mimic what humans are doing, and that can be classified as AI task. Now, it may or may not involve machine learning, right? Because machine learning involves training, right? So, but there are a lot of tasks for robots which doesn't require kind of a proper training, right? For example, you can just program which is very often used in case of, like, if you have a huge e-commerce warehouse for routing the shipping boxes from one place to another. There can be fixed rules, and they are performing tasks which like a human do, but they are basically they do not require any true intelligence or thinking as per. So any such task which human can do that machines do and doesn't require training, and it can be achieved using rule-based mechanism, it's called AI. Machine learning is a specific subset of AI wherein you would need to train machine and tell it what it should look for. For instance, let's say you could submit a different pictures of fruits like banana, apple, and orange, and label them as respective fruits, and you can submit their characteristics like height, color of the fruit, and the approximate weight. These are called features, and you can label them as a specific fruit like banana, orange, or apple. Then there is this label data set that you feed to the machine, and machine learns from this data set. So after learning this, then once you feed the machine a new fruit with no label but just the characteristics or so-called features, the machine should be able to tell you what the fruit is. So that's what machine learning. So it involves a learning aspect where you need to either feed in label data so that your machines can learn, or if it's not labeled data, at least machine can cluster the various data based on the common characteristics. For example, if you just feed in bunch of news articles, the machine should be able to identify as business, tech, sports based on the content in the article, even though you have not specified any specific labels. So that's machine learning. Then let's come to the deep learning. So deep learning is again a specific subset of machine learning wherein you primarily use artificial neural network to train and learn and predict uh, a problem or a solution. So here, unlike machine learning where you need to specifically create features like color of the fruit, height of the fruit, right? You don't need to tell deep learning uh, what the feature should be. A deep learning deep learning system automatically learns features based on the data that is given to it, and then it uses a layer of neural networks to do an inference which could involve classification of images or predicting next set of speech or translation of speech. So that's the primary difference between AI, machine learning, and deep learning. Let's do the animation again just to drive home the point. So at the top level we have AI, then machine learning is a subset of AI, and then deep learning is a subset of machine learning, right? So those are the points to remember. Let's look at another example to illustrate the difference between now machine learning and deep learning. People at this point, you should be able to at least able to differentiate between AI and machine learning and deep learning. But sometimes machine learning and deep learning still there might be some confusion. So I am going to give you one more example to drive home the unique difference between machine learning and deep learning. So let's assume that you have been given a task of classifying an image into a cat or a dog image, right? So you have an input, it could be cat or dog, but now we need to classify. Now you could use machine learning or deep learning. So in case of machine learning, what happens is you are fed an input image. So from that input image, you handcraft the feature extraction, right? In this particular case, you learn about pixel intensities of the image for cat and dog. You also input like does the cat have long ears, short ears, or shape of the ear, then height of the animal. Those features you need to input explicitly to a machine learning algorithm, and you also need to specify a specific algorithm that you want to use in case of machine learning to classify the image. Okay, and then the machine learning classifier will learn from the input images, and then it will be able to classify the images into cat or dog images. So the key points here is the feature extraction from the image is done by hand. The programmer needs to do that upfront. Also, he has to choose an algorithm, which could be a SVM, which could be any classifier that is used for images, right? It could be a SVM, binary classifier like SVM, or any other classifier, naive Bayes classifier you can use to classify the images. But you need to choose the algorithm as well as the features upfront in case of machine learning. Now, in case of deep learning, let's say exact same task if you want to run with the deep learning. So here typically what happens is you have a layers of neural networks arranged in a hierarchical manner where each layer does a specific task. So first layer will learn about identifying the edges in the images, right? The corners or the edges specifically in the images. The next layer will learn from the previous layer and will identify the corners, eyes and ears of the animal. And again, this input is fed to a next layer. Then the next layer learns about identifying face, fur of the animal and things like that. So as you can see, there's a hierarchical layers that does learning in a sequential manner, and one layer feeds another layer and it learns from the previous layer. And this feature extraction done is automatically. You don't need to tell deep learning system on how to extract the features. The deep learning system learn on its own, and it then classifies again the same image into dog and cat. So as you can see, feature extraction happens in deep learning automatically and learning happens hierarchically. So those are the key differences between machine learning and deep